Ireland, 1922. A fragile peace treaty hangs by a thread. The War of Independence against the British Empire, a fight for self-determination, had ended. But from its ashes rose a new conflict, a civil war that would pit brother against brother, comrade against comrade. This was a clash of ideologies, a bitter dispute over the Anglo-Irish Treaty and the future of a nation yearning for freedom. On one side stood the forces of the newly established Irish Free State, who saw the treaty as a necessary, albeit imperfect, step towards full independence. They were led by men who had stared down the might of the British Empire, men like Michael Collins, a pragmatic and ruthless strategist. On the other side stood the anti-treaty IRA, those who viewed the treaty as a betrayal, a compromise too far. They were willing to fight on, to bleed, for the dream of a completely independent republic. The Irish Civil War was a brutal and devastating conflict, but the Free State emerged victorious. Let's explore the key factors that led to their success. From the outset, the Free State held a distinct advantage in terms of military hardware. They inherited the existing structures of the Irish Republican Army, the very force that had battled the British to a standstill. But more importantly, they received a crucial lifeline from their former enemy. The British government provided the Free State with a vast supply of weapons and ammunition, rifles, machine guns, artillery. The Free State Army was equipped with the tools of modern warfare. This gave them a significant edge over the anti-treaty IRA, who were forced to rely on captured weapons and whatever limited supplies they could smuggle into the country. The Free State's advantage wasn't just about the quantity of weapons, but also their quality. They possessed artillery pieces capable of reducing IRA strongholds to rubble, a stark contrast to the IRA's limited firepower. This disparity in firepower played a crucial role in key battles and sieges throughout the conflict. Furthermore, the Free State could draw upon a larger pool of manpower. Thousands of young men, eager to defend the fledgling state, flocked to join the National Army. Many of these recruits were veterans of the War of Independence, hardened by years of guerrilla warfare. The anti-treaty IRA, while fiercely dedicated, struggled to match the Free State's numbers. They were often outnumbered and outgunned, forced to rely on hit-and-run tactics in the hope that their enemy's resolve would crumble before their own. But the Free State's military superiority, fueled by British support, proved to be a decisive factor in the conflict. At the helm of the Free State stood a formidable figure, Michael Collins. A veteran of the Easter Rising and the War of Independence, Collins was a brilliant strategist and a charismatic leader. He understood the importance of establishing a functioning state, one that could provide stability and security for its citizens. Under Collins' direction, the Free State moved swiftly to establish a national army, a police force and a court system. They took control of key infrastructure, such as ports and communication lines, asserting their authority and bringing a semblance of order to the war-torn nation. This rapid consolidation of power stood in stark contrast to the anti-treaty side. The anti-treaty IRA, while deeply committed to their cause, lacked a cohesive leadership structure. Divided by internal disagreements and hampered by a lack of resources, they struggled to present a united front. This lack of unity hindered their ability to govern effectively in the areas they controlled and ultimately weakened their war effort. Collins, on the other hand, proved to be a master of organization and logistics. He established a system of supply lines, training camps, and communication networks that allowed the Free State Army to operate with greater efficiency. He also recognized the importance of winning hearts and minds, not just territory. The Free State government, led by William T. Cosgrave, implemented policies aimed at rebuilding the economy and restoring normal life. They established a currency, reopened businesses, and worked to repair the damage inflicted by years of conflict. These efforts, while challenging in the midst of a civil war, helped to bolster public support for the Free State and further isolate the anti-treaty side. The Irish Civil War was a conflict the British government desperately wanted to avoid. Having just emerged from a bloody and costly war of their own, the last thing they desired was a resurgence of violence in Ireland. Moreover, the British government saw the newly established Free State as a bulwark against potential republicanism within their own borders. This pragmatic approach led to a policy of tacit support for the Free State. While officially neutral, the British government provided their former adversaries with a steady stream of weapons, ammunition, and other essential supplies. This clandestine support proved crucial in tipping the balance of power in favour of the Free State. Beyond material aid, the British also provided the Free State with valuable intelligence. Having maintained a vast network of spies and informants during the War of Independence, the British were privy to the inner workings of the IRA, both pro- and anti-treaty factions. This intelligence, shared discreetly with the Free State, allowed Collins and his commanders to anticipate enemy movements, thwart ambushes, and launch successful counter-offensives. The anti-treaty IRA, on the other hand, found themselves increasingly isolated, their movements shadowed by an unseen enemy. The British support for the Free State, while controversial and often denied, was a significant factor in the outcome of the Civil War. It provided the Free State with a crucial advantage in resources, intelligence, and international legitimacy. This support, combined with the Free State's own military and political strengths, proved too much for the anti-treaty side to overcome. The Irish Civil War was not just a clash of armies, but a battle for the hearts and minds of the Irish people. The Free State, recognizing the importance of public opinion, made concerted efforts to cultivate support among the population. They presented themselves as the guarantors of peace and stability, the only force capable of ending the bloodshed and rebuilding the nation. This message resonated with many war-weary citizens who had endured years of conflict and hardship. Furthermore, the Free State established an effective intelligence network that extended deep into communities across Ireland. This network, often composed of ordinary citizens with local knowledge, provided invaluable information about IRA movements, safe houses, and supply lines. The IRA, on the other hand, while enjoying some popular support, particularly in rural areas, found themselves increasingly isolated. Their guerrilla tactics, while effective against the British, often alienated the very people they were fighting to liberate. The Free State exploited this, portraying the IRA as a band of lawless rebels who were prolonging the nation's suffering. This propaganda war, waged in newspapers, pamphlets, and public speeches, played a crucial role in shaping public perception. The Free State's message of order and stability, coupled with their success in restoring a semblance of normality, gradually eroded public support for the IRA. The intelligence gathered by the Free State, often through whispers in the shadows, proved invaluable in their fight against the IRA. It allowed them to target their enemy with greater precision, minimizing civilian casualties and further solidifying their image as the protectors of the people. With their superior resources, intelligence, and public support, the Free State launched a series of strategic offensives that gradually turned the tide of the war in their favour. These offensives, planned by Michael Collins and executed with ruthless efficiency, targeted key IRA strongholds and supply lines, aiming to cripple their ability to wage war. One of the most decisive offensives was the capture of Cork City, a major port and a symbol of Republican resistance. The Free State, utilizing their naval superiority, landed troops in a daring amphibious assault, quickly overwhelming the IRA defenders. This victory dealt a significant blow to IRA morale and demonstrated the Free State's growing military prowess. Another key offensive targeted the Munster Republic, a swath of territory in Southern Ireland controlled by the IRA. The Free State, employing a pincer movement, gradually squeezed the IRA, forcing them into a series of costly retreats. These defeats further depleted the IRA's dwindling manpower and resources, pushing them closer to the brink. The Free State's offensive strategy was not limited to conventional military tactics. They also employed economic warfare, blockading IRA-held areas and disrupting their supply lines. This multifaceted approach, combining military might with economic pressure, gradually wore down the IRA's resistance. By the spring of 1923, the IRA, once a formidable force that had held the British Empire at bay, found themselves on the defensive. Their strongholds had fallen, their resources were depleted, and their leadership was decimated. The dream of a republic for which they had fought so valiantly seemed to be slipping away. As the war dragged on, the human cost of the conflict became increasingly apparent. Both sides suffered heavy casualties, with thousands of young men killed and wounded. Michael Collins was ambushed and killed on August 22, 1922, at Ballinablaw. The relentless cycle of violence left families shattered and communities torn apart. For the IRA, already facing overwhelming odds, the losses were particularly devastating. Key leaders, including Liam Lynch, their chief of staff, were killed in action. These losses deprived the IRA of experienced commanders and further eroded their ability to wage an effective campaign. Moreover, the constant pressure exerted by the Free State took a heavy toll on the morale of the IRA fighters. Outnumbered, outgunned, and constantly on the run, their initial zeal began to wane. The dream of a republic, once a beacon of hope, seemed increasingly distant. The Free State, while also suffering losses, was better equipped to replace fallen soldiers and maintain their fighting strength. Their access to British supplies, coupled with their more centralized command structure, allowed them to weather the storm of attrition warfare. As the months turned into years, the futility of their situation dawned on many within the IRA. The Free State, backed by British might and with the support of a significant portion of the population, was proving to be an insurmountable foe. The dream of a republic for which they had sacrificed so much seemed to be slipping away. By April 1923, the IRA was a shadow of its former self. Their leadership was decimated, their resources were exhausted, and their fighters were weary of war. The Free State, on the other hand, while also bearing the scars of conflict, was in a position of strength. Recognizing the futility of further bloodshed, the IRA leadership made the difficult decision to order a ceasefire. On April 30th, 1923, the guns fell silent, bringing an end to a conflict that had torn the nation apart. The ceasefire, while marking the end of the fighting, did not heal the wounds of the Civil War. The war left a bitter legacy of division and resentment that would linger for generations. Families were torn apart, communities were shattered, and the dream of a united Ireland seemed more distant than ever. Yet, amidst the ruins, there was also a sense of relief. The ceasefire allowed the process of rebuilding to begin. The Free State, now the undisputed government of Ireland, faced the daunting task of healing the wounds of war, restoring order and building a new nation. It was a task fraught with challenges, but also with the promise of a brighter future. The Irish Civil War, though a tragic chapter in the nation's history, ultimately paved the way for the establishment of an independent Irish state. The Free State, forged in the fires of conflict, would lay the foundations for the Republic of Ireland we know today. The Irish Civil War was a brutal and tragic conflict, a testament to the complexities of revolution and the enduring power of ideology. The Free State's victory, while securing the survival of the fledgling state, came at a heavy price. The divisions sown during the war would continue to shape Irish society for decades to come. These factors, combined to ensure the Free State's victory in the Irish Civil War, has left the country still divided. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more historical insights.